All right, everybody, let's begin. Good evening. My name is Jason Inch. I am the organizer of the China Business Events Meetup, and welcome to our 86th event, I think, over the last couple of years. I'm just going to introduce, our theme tonight, talk about some of our agenda and people supporting us, and then we're going to introduce our guest speaker of the night, Antonio Graceffo, who's going to be talking about this very timely topic, Trump's 30 days, his first month in office, which in fact I think is today, right? So he was inaugurated on the 19th of January, so we're basically right at 1 month right now, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of interesting aspects of his first 30 days, and I'll leave that to Antonio to get into. We like to host these events here at the China Business Event Series because we're trying to create a dialogue on topics related to China's economy, technology, business environment, things that are of interest both to entrepreneurs as well as people who might be looking for career opportunities and the next growth phase in industries or here in China in general. So we started this group for both social and learning, right? We want everybody to meet each other and also learn something at each of our events. This is our QR code for the China Business Events series, and we're moving now towards more of a WeChat-centric way of promoting our events. So it's my pleasure now to introduce our speaker of the evening. It's his second time actually speaking for our event series. The first time he spoke was about his PhD with the Shanghai University of Sports. He actually completed that PhD last year. He wrote his thesis actually in Chinese as well, and he is an expert in areas related to some of the books that you can see below. He's traveled the world, but especially here in Asia, on a kind of a martial arts journey. And many of his tales are recounted in these books, which you can find on Amazon. But Antonio actually is not satisfied with that. He's actually now going on to do a second PhD. And this is building on work that he's already been doing for many years. Antonio, you studied originally at University of Finance, or?
Yeah, business.
So business
and worked as portfolio manager.
Yeah, and so he's actually comes from a financial background. Before he came to China, he's kind of returning to his roots, so to speak, now with a new PhD study in economy of China, and he is focusing on this topic specifically of Trump and U.S.-China relations. So I think he's the person to have for this event, and I'm very pleased that he's agreed to come and speak with us again. So please give a warm welcome to Antonio Graceffo.
Hello. Thanks everybody for coming down today. Trump has been in office for about 30 days, and I know that we're not going to do questions till later, but usually one of the first questions they ask me is, are you a Trump supporter? And my answer is, there is nobody on this planet who I find more entertaining. So basically, as you know, Trump became president of the United States. He was elected last November. He actually took office about 30 days ago, 31 days ago. And he came into office as being the most hated, the most despised American president to date. His approval ratings are something like 40%. And there were even riots and protests the day after the election, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. The business community, however, really likes him. Immediately after he was elected, NASDAQ, the US dollar, the S&P 500, all surged, and they've all hit record highs. He's credited with saving a bunch of jobs. He's trying to keep jobs in America. That's one of the things he said. And he saved a bunch of jobs at Carrier. I said he's credited with that. There's been a lot of speculation now that in saving 1,000 jobs, he cost several thousand other jobs. All right. A lot of people don't like Trump. So one of my jobs, so every morning I get up at 4 in the morning, I read all the news feeds from the United States, China, and Germany. And the Germans, when I was reading the German news feeds, the words that I keep seeing again and again and again are gefährlich, Flucht. So they're afraid. They think he's dangerous. Wahnsinn. Spinnt. He's crazy. And they had a picture. Unfortunately, I don't have that picture, but there was a picture of him sitting on a throne, and it said, "Der neue Imperator," the new emperor. Okay, so Germans don't like him. And Trump bans a lot of other people. He immediately put in this Muslim travel ban, but as he pointed out, it's not actually a ban. It just means, you know, you can't go there. So they don't like him. Al Jazeera hates him. You know, and Al Jazeera reported that all the newspapers in Europe said that what he was doing was actually inhumane. Trump insulted Australia. Yeah, actually, I think it's kind of funny because I can't imagine anybody disliking Australia. But he found something to hate. He insulted Angela Merkel and the Prime Minister of the Chancellor of Germany. And he insulted the President of Mexico for saying that he's exporting heroin and criminals and rapists to my country. And in a viral YouTube video, Donald Trump said China 234 times. So, as you can imagine, U.S.-China relations are at a new low. And, you know, the U.S. and China, you know, it's really important, not just because I'm American and I'm very jingoistic, but obviously the American and Chinese economic relationship is probably one of the most important in the world. Certainly we're the two largest economies in the world, and what we do affects everybody. We're going to be talking a bit more of that. Now, my background is that I've spent 15 years in Asia, 16 actually, 5 in China, but I was mostly in Southeast Asia. So I tend to know a lot about ASEAN. We concentrate what's happening in ASEAN, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos. I know a lot of you are European, so I don't concentrate as much on Europe, but you do know that it affects everybody. President Trump has his cabinet picks. Now, he actually picks 2,000 people. The number of picks the president does, it's about 2,000 positions. Clearly, he doesn't do all of those himself, he doesn't know all of those people, but the people who he did pick, his closest advisors, were largely anti-China, pro-Taiwan. He has what they call the anti-China triumvirate, and this is Robert Lighthizer, the U.S. Trade Representative, Wilbur Ross, Secretary of Commerce, Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro is the author of a book called, anybody know? Death by China. Okay, so he did not a very balanced reporting on that issue. And he is in a newly created position called the White House National Trade Council. Now, it's very interesting about that. I saw someone in the American government, someone high-ranking, being interviewed. They said, what do you think of Trump's pick of Peter Navarro? And the guy said, well, you know, the U.S. government already suffers from too much bureaucracy. Why would he add another layer of bureaucracy? And I'll tell you right now, I know this man. Okay, I'm from Queens, New York. I've grown up watching this guy, reading this guy my whole life. When he talks, I understand what he's saying. He did not add another layer of bureaucracy. He created a go-to guy. He shortened the bureaucracy. He's going to talk to Navarro, and then Navarro's going to do whatever he says. And that's the arrangement. And what Navarro does is probably not going to be good for China. Now, my personal relationship to Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro was my macroeconomics professor. I never asked him about China. Okay, so Donald Trump removed the United States from the TPP. Now, what's really funny is, so I work with a Chinese think tank here writing Trump-China reports, and work with the think tank in Pakistan, dealing with Trump, China, Pakistan, and I'm writing for a lot of people. So like I said, I get up every morning, I read these news feeds, and I compile reports. I was still making edits to this presentation this morning, because every day that I thought I was done, something else really interesting. I don't know if you enjoy watching Homeland. Yeah. Like, I love watching Homeland, but this is like a reality show that develops every day. I could give you a guess who the losers are going to be. It's all of us, but so anyway, you know, he's got this new America First. That's the mantra. I know there's a number of Germans in the audience. I know there's a lot of Chinese colleagues. I see some Europeans from different places. I won't say in defense, but in explanation of my country, we do tend to be very nationalistic, tend to be very patriotic, but that doesn't have to be a negative thing. I think a lot of people are interpreting America First as potentially negative, and I'm not saying it's not. Anyway, so he's got this America First thing, and threatening to raise 45% tariff on foreign imported products, particularly on China, as well as 35% tax on U.S. companies that are producing products abroad and bringing them back to the United States. Now, we'll talk more about this as we go on. This is almost the most important thing that's going on here. So U.S.-China trade. The U.S. is the largest importer of anything. We're the largest market of anything. The average salary in the United States is $56,000 a year. The average American savings ratio is negative 3%. So Americans spend approximately $58,000 a year each on consumption. We buy everything. There's so many countries in the world that are completely dependent on selling their products to the United States, particularly China. Now China accounts for about 20% of their exports. I don't know how much macroeconomics you want me to get into. I can do the graphs for you, but basically the way this works is this. The country has a GDP, and the GDP will grow based on the exports. The United States alone accounts for almost the entire growth of the GDP of China. So if you calculate China's GDP, the rate at which it grows, that amount is almost equal to what the U.S. is buying. So if a trade war happens and the U.S. got imported from China, it would be very bad. But it's going to be bad on both sides, and we'll get to that. I see a ghost. It's the ghost of Obama. Okay. Now, as far as the trade war goes, we'll talk more about potential trade war, but while the U.S. runs a very large trade deficit with China, this doesn't mean that we're exporting nothing. And again, I don't know if this is in defense of my country or just that I want to explain to people, we're not just a bunch of fat people sitting 5,000 miles away buying stuff, okay? You don't get to where we are by doing that. So we're also exporting, all right? And what we export to China is not negligible. It's a quarter of what we import from China, but it's a lot. What we're exporting to China is already more than the GDP of a lot of countries. Anybody in here from Belgium, Portugal, Spain? Okay, so our exports to China are bigger than your whole economy. But thank you. All right, so as of October 26th, China is the second largest holder of U.S. debt. So historically, obviously, America's largest, closest ally in Asia historically has been Japan. They're also one of our major trading partners. They're also the most developed economy in Asia. I mean, you could argue that Singapore also, but Singapore is very small. So when we talk about the four largest economies on the planet, we've got the United States, followed by China, followed by Germany, followed by Japan, followed by Germany. So historically, Japan has been the largest holder of U.S. debt. And China has always bought a lot of U.S. debt. Then China became the largest holder of U.S. debt. And then in October of last year, China sold off a lot of their U.S. debt. And we'll talk about why that's significant in just a moment. The reason why China holds so much U.S. there's a lot of reasons. All countries in the world used to be on a gold standard. So if you were printing money, you had an equal amount of gold in a vault somewhere, and that made people accept your money. Think about it. Your money's made of paper, and you can trade it for cars and computers and food and things. Why would somebody do that for paper? Well, because they believe it has value. The money used to actually have value. They had gold in the bank. So what happened was there wasn't enough gold in the world, plus a lot of countries didn't have enough gold. So the U.S. currency became the de facto back of most other currencies. 80 currencies in the world are pegged to the U.S. dollar. 8 countries use the U.S. dollar as their currency. So the way countries back their currency today is that they buy U.S. debt and hold it. When I say U.S. debt, it means U.S. government bonds. With China, China has the yuan. The yuan is not quite a free-floating currency, which means the market doesn't quite determine the value of the yuan. The government allows it to fluctuate within a narrow band, and then if it drops too low or goes too high, they will sell or buy U.S. debt on the open market to control the value of the yuan. So we can judge the health of Chinese economy by how much U.S. dollars they're holding, and they've been dumping a lot of U.S. dollars. Now, Donald Trump says China's beating us on trade. The because Chinese wages are low, currency is low, and he wants to put a 45% tariff. Chinese wages are much lower than in the United States. So we have the average Chinese factory worker is earning like 3,000 RMB a month. The average US factory worker is earning about $1,900 a month. Okay, if we go to someplace like Germany, a factory worker earns more than the United States. They might be earning 2,000, 2,500, something like this. So Chinese workers are earning much lower. That's why products are cheaper. Many economists believe Chinese wages are actually too low. And if we look, China, second richest country in the world, the average income is less than $8,000 a year. Malaysia, which is not nearly as rich as China, the average income is almost $10,000. Gabon, not exactly a country that we think of as being very economically developed, and their average income is $10,000, almost $11,000 a year. Greece, is anybody here from Greece? Okay, I feel like a stand-up comedian. Anybody from Greece? Okay, so Greece, which has arguably the worst economy in Europe, they got terrible debt, this and that. Their average per capita income is $18,000 a year, so 2.5 times what the Chinese workers are earning. Another reason why, you know this already. All right, currency is very low. So, and recently the currency's been dropping even more. So we were almost up to, we were at like, it was like over 9 yuan for the dollar. Now it's around 8 something for the dollar. Through September, China was the largest holder of US debt. So now, Donald Trump has accused China of manipulating the currency. In other words, intentionally keeping the currency low to make Chinese products cheaper. Well, almost every reputable economist in the world disagrees. I don't believe that. Most economists don't believe it. And this is the proof. China has sold billions upon billions of dollars of US debt in the last 2 years, and yet the currency continues to drop. And that tells us China's doing everything they can to bring the currency up, but it's not going up. There's other factors there. It is not currency manipulation. Okay, so this is the story about all these billions and billions of dollars of debt that China sold, of US debt. It should have brought the currency up. It didn't. But clearly China is trying to bring the currency up, not down, which means they're not guilty of currency manipulation. But this is a fact, and this is a macroeconomic fact. And I believe that with President Trump, I hope this is the case. I believe you have to ignore what's coming out of his mouth. You have to ignore the letter of what he's saying. But the underlying spirit is sometimes accurate. So I absolutely don't believe that China is a currency manipulator. I don't believe China is, cheating with the currency. However, I do believe Chinese currency is lower than US currency. That's a fact. I do believe Chinese workers earn less than US workers. That is a fact. Historically, when two countries are trading, if one of them has a very low currency and low wages, the other country raises a tariff to bring the prices closer in line so that it's a fair competition. So it would be normal to raise a tariff. I don't know that it's 45%. Okay, I'm not that kind of an economist where I'm going to sit down and calculate how much percent it should be, but it's absolutely normal to have tariffs. And countries all around the world have tariffs. The TPP. So until last week, this slide said Donald Trump vowed to take us out of the TPP, then he took us out of the TPP. Now, if you're in China, you might not think the TPP is very important for China. Why is he talking about this? It's very important. Trans-Pacific Partnership was a free trade arrangement involving 12 countries, including the United States, but excluding China. And it was a place where America would have dominated this organization. It would have been a place where China wasn't trading. So if you see that as a strategic advantage for the U.S., well, now that strategic advantage is gone as the U.S. has left the TPP. So that could mean that it will open up the opportunity for China to join the TPP. President Trump wanted to leave because Americans, as I said, are very nationalistic. All right, Americans are very nationalistic. We like America. Doesn't mean we don't like somebody else. American workers didn't want a decision made in an office in Malaysia or Singapore that would dictate how American workers behave. For example, a lot of Americans look at the European Parliament and we shake our head, wow, how could a guy in Belgium decide what's going to happen in Italy? Okay? I'm explaining the background. I'm not saying it's how I feel, but this is one of the reasons. Right, American labor unions wanted to end the TPP because they believed the TPP was taking American jobs away. Again, I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but it is a fact that they believe that. President Obama's own people, including Bernie Sanders, wanted America out of the TPP. Bernie Sanders published a paper called "The Trans-Pacific Partnership Must Die." Must die? Must be defeated. All right, so he won that one. All right, so the U.S. runs a trade deficit with all the TPP countries, with the exception of Singapore. No, I'm sorry, we run a trade deficit with all of them. Sorry. Yeah, no, except Singapore. And a lot of the reason why Americans wanted out of the TPP was because TPP countries had trade barriers against America that were not reciprocal. For example, in no TPP country can an American buy land. But anyone can go to America, Chinese, Korean, North Korean, whatever you are, Russian, whatever, anyone can go to America on a tourist visa and buy land. Anybody can go to America and start a business. Anyone can go to America and get a driver's license, which is fine, and I'm very much in favor of that. However, it wasn't reciprocal. So if you're allowed to come here and buy land, why can't I go to your country and buy land? If you can come here and start a business, why can't I go there and start a business? Right? My parents are immigrants, by the way, so I'm very much in favor of immigration. That's not what I'm talking about. But these were non-reciprocal agreements. The U.S. currently has a 9% tariff on most of the products from TPP countries. They have a 20% tariff on our products. Our workers earn 10 times what their workers earn. Our products are, double, triple, quadruple the price, and then they add a 20% tariff. So these are the kind of things that Trump was saying. If we had a Trump translator, this is what he meant, or what I hope he meant. So when we get to ASEAN, China is really important for ASEAN. China is the #1 trade partner, #1 FDI partner. The U.S. is also important, but China is the most important. Some countries in ASEAN are very, very, very dependent on China, particularly the ones with undeveloped economies like Cambodia and Laos, Myanmar, Burma. China runs a trade surplus with all the countries in ASEAN. The U.S. is running a trade deficit with all those countries. U.S. is very important for ASEAN. We're also a big investor. There's a lot of American companies there. We run a trade deficit with most of the countries there. The U.S. has production in ASEAN because we sell those products to other countries in ASEAN. The only area the U.S. had a surplus is with services, but that's because the U.S. is a very developed country, a mature economy, we call it, which means that we tend to be in the service sector rather than in production. Whereas China is transitioning. China's still in the production phase. They produce products and export them. America exports services and Starbucks. and WeWork. The U.S. is leading the TPP. This could benefit China. So China has a whole soup, we call it alphabet soup, of acronyms of different organizations, banks, free trade agreements that China has formed. The TPP being one, I'm sorry, not the TPP, but there's a regional partnership, the Regional Economic Comprehensive Partnership, the Asian Investment Infrastructure Investment Bank, the Free Trade Area of Asia, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of these organizations and banks and funds China has founded, which also include the ASEAN countries. So the U.S. leaving the TPP now means most of the options that are open to TPP countries are to go with China in some form or another. Australia, anybody here from Australia? Okay, so Australia has the most, of all the Western countries, it has the most Asian-centric economy. It's the most closely aligned with China. The day after the U.S. pulled out of the PPT, the Prime Minister of Australia was already suggesting, okay, well, let's continue with the PPT, but let's put the TPP, but let's do China now rather than the US. All right. Economists are warning that, quite obviously, if you have two kids playing in the sandbox, if I throw sand at you, you're probably going to throw sand at me, and then I'm going to hit you with a shovel, and then you're going to hit me with a shovel, and we're going to go back and forth, escalating until you go and kill my whole family. Or at least that's how it happens in New York. I don't know where you're from. Okay, so economists are warning that, if the U.S. raises the tariff against China, China's going to raise the tariff against the U.S. If the U.S. were to kick Chinese companies out of the United States, which actually isn't even on the table, but if that did happen, China would do the same. The big thing, though, is that we've got a double whammy, because if the U.S. puts tariffs on China, it will not only affect Chinese companies, but also American companies in China. And then there will be taxes imposed on these companies as well. So anyway, a trade war can ensue. And again, it's not that the U.S. is exporting zero to China. The U.S. actually exports quite a lot to China. China is the #1 purchaser of our soybeans, and actually something like 80–90% of our total soybeans are sold to China, as are almost 100% of our chicken feed, a number of other things. As far as manufacturing, believe it or not, the U.S. is still the #1 in the world manufacturer of white goods. We call white goods. That means refrigerators, the big appliances in your house, washing machines, these things, farm machinery, tractors and things like that. And we're the #1 producer. I think China's the #1 purchaser. Airplanes, we're still leading, we're still ahead of China. So, and automobiles. China has been credited, the Chinese market has been credited with keeping the U.S. automakers alive. If we take China out of the equation, U.S. automakers can't afford to stay in business. I think this may also be true of some of the European and Japanese automakers as well. So they would be adversely affected by this. Now, if a trade war starts, and this is all if, right? If the trade war starts, or if there's no trade war, but President Trump raises a 35% tariff, well, Nike, Apple, American companies that are in China, they could leave. The way it is right now, originally American companies started coming here when the first free trade areas opened in Shenzhen and that back in 1978 is when we started having the economic reforms, and then through the 80s, and they started opening up the free trade areas, and they're trading only in those areas, and then they started expanding the areas. So American companies would come here mainly because Chinese labor was really cheap. And of course, Chinese labor now is much more expensive than it was then. However, China has developed, and so you now have good electricity in China, and you have good roads in China, and you have internet, and you have really good airports, and you have flights all over the world. You have all these things that help support a business, that make it good and easy to have a business here. However, the labor is getting more and more expensive, and there's actually calculations we can do that will predict if labor goes up by even, let's say, another 3% or 5% or 10%, companies are going to leave, because they're on the cusp of leaving right now. If you slap a 35% tax on them, they absolutely can't afford to stay here. So what will they do? Well, they're looking at going to Southeast Asia, but mostly here in Indonesia and Vietnam is the two best choices. However, Vietnam, labor, $120 a month, right? A lot cheaper than China. That sounds great. No brainer, we'll move to Vietnam. Okay, but if you move to Vietnam, you have to install the electricity, and you have to build the road that goes to your factory. And Vietnam now is number 2 or 3 on the world corruption index, all right? So, okay, maybe I don't want to go to Vietnam, I'll go to Indonesia. Then you go to Indonesia, well, it's, 8,000 islands, and where are you going to put your factory, and how are you going to get your goods in? So it's not that simple. It's not like a company can just pick up and move. And then when you're manufacturing big things like automobiles, I mean, it is just millions and millions and millions of dollars to move that factory. So it's not that simple. However, regardless of where these companies move, they may not move back to the United States, which if you remember from slide number 7, there's a quiz later. There's a test. I'm going to ask you which slide that was. It was slide number 7. Okay, so one of the reasons that he wants to do all this is to bring the jobs back to the United States. Well, we don't know for sure the jobs are coming back to the States. Probably the jobs are going to go to Malaysia, or rather Vietnam or Indonesia, and possibly Burma. So Moody's, now I love Moody's, because I come from industry. Originally, I worked in the financial industry. I was portfolio manager. I handled investment portfolios. And so I tend to go to industry sources for my data rather than academic sources, which they don't always like that at the university. So I went to Moody's, and they ran a simulator. They said, oh, if there's a trade war between the United States and China, this is what's going to happen. Are there any boxing fans in the room? Boxing fans? Okay, great. Boxing fans. All right. Greatest boxer who ever lived? Yes, Muhammad Ali and Rocky Marciano, but they lived in different eras, so people always wondered what would happen if they fought. So the first computer fight that was ever done was Rocky Marciano versus Muhammad Ali. So now the technology is even better, so they can do a computer fight, China versus the United States, in a trade war. All right, and I think there's going to be a video game coming out soon. You can play it at home. So Moody's ran this simulator, and in the simulator, the United States wins. The first part of the trade wins, has an advantage. But then what happens is, eventually the United States economy goes into a recession, and then the whole world goes into a recession. And then I don't know if you watch a TV show called The Walking Dead. That's what Moody's predicted. I love Moody's. I don't know if I believe all those steps. Experts against the trade war, this is a bit more balanced. Basically what they're saying is this. They go, look, we're already exporting X amount to China, whatever that is in dollars, and we're going to lose that if there's a trade war. That's going to hurt us. Also, China is 1.3 billion people. The growth rate is 6.7, 6.6, whatever it is, every year. Okay, they're earning $9,000 now, but how much will they be earning next year? And there's 1.3 billion of them. It's a huge market. If we keep on friendly terms with China, if we already have our companies in China with a foothold, how much money can we make over 10 years or 20 years? But if we have a trade war, we're going to lose all that. And this is a lot of the argument that Xi Jinping is making, that on the Chinese side, this is what I'm hearing all the time. Nobody wants a trade war, it's destructive, it's going to hurt everybody. There is definitely truth to that. When I worked on Wall Street, before I even thought about coming to China, when I worked on Wall Street, one of my jobs was to read business plans. People would come in with business plans, and I'd read it, decide if it was a good idea, we'd invest in it. When you're junior, and you don't have a lot of experience, every business plan you read, you go, God, this is the best idea ever. The company should put all their money in this. And then you take it to your boss and he goes, no, that's a terrible idea. Or, oh, it's been done before. But I still remember somebody came with an investment in China. And I wanted to sell detergent, laundry detergent. And I was like, there's whatever it was at that time, maybe it wasn't even 1 billion people in China. There's 1 billion people in China. If we sold everybody some laundry detergent, we'd make, all this money. And my boss told me there's an economic concept called the Chinese toothbrush. Over 100 years ago, in the late 19th century, somebody came to China and saw in the market that there weren't a lot of toothbrushes. And they got the idea to buy toothbrushes in the States and sell them in China. And if I could get everybody in China to buy one toothbrush for a penny, I'd be a gazillionaire. And that guy died with no money. All right? So my boss told me that, over centuries, really centuries, people came to China and said, wow, this is the greatest market in the world. If I could get everybody to buy, So it doesn't always materialize. And all of you in here, I know you're all running some kind of business, and I hope you're all doing very well. Does anybody in here have 1.3 billion customers? Okay, so there's room to grow. All right. So opponents of the Trump 45% tariff claim that it's illegal. Xi Jinping has pointed out that it would be against WTO rules even to raise a 45% tariff against a WTO member. Trump is trying to claim, well, if I could label you a currency manipulator, then the rules are off. He's not going to be able to do that. However, this is really interesting. So some journalists did a study to see could Trump actually raise a 45% tariff against China. There's 5 loopholes in the rule. There's actually, the bottom line is, or the simple answer, no, you cannot raise a 45% tariff against anybody. However, there's 5 loopholes. One of them is if we're at war, if the United States is at war, the president under war powers can raise tariffs. And the catch is the war does not have to be with that country. So we could invade Grenada again, or the Falkland Islands. No, and in fact, because the U.S. has troops in Syria, Afghanistan, we have troops in a lot of places right now. It could qualify as war. All we'd have to do is declare war. You'd have these powers, and you could actually raise the tariff. The U.S. also has, the president has unlimited ability to raise tariffs during time of national emergency. So, for example, during the Great Depression, during the stock market crash, during the Great Depression, during World War II. That's a national emergency. Guess what? In the law, it does not define what is a national emergency. So anything is a national emergency if the president says so. He can also hit, this is a really weird law. He's not allowed to raise 45% tariff against China, but he's allowed to raise 45% tariff against individual industries. Now, one of the arguments against the TPP was that when you have these broad, when you have these, I won't know what to say next. And when you have these broad free trade agreements, they have a list of industries and products in them. One of the arguments about the TPP was that there were ridiculous products on the list. For example, under the TPP, American companies were allowed to export ski equipment to Vietnam without a tariff. I don't know how much market research you do in your spare time. Not a lot of people in Vietnam are buying ski equipment. Okay, so they're giving us, because we're friends, they're going to let us send free ski equipment, and they're going to send us real stuff that we're actually buying and using, right? So all the president would have to do is say, okay, no, I'm not going to have a 45% tariff on China. Only on electronic equipment, sports shoes, whatever. You just pick the biggest things, put tariffs on them. This is another really weird one. He's allowed to put low tariffs, but again, it's a 15% tariff. And the way that it's worded, you could actually wind up with multiple tariffs on a single product because one product would contain components from different industries. Under the Trade Expansion Act, raise that, okay, got that one. Okay, I am American, I am North American, I'm from New York. I don't know anything about NAFTA. Okay, are there any Canadians? Mexicans? All right, thank you for coming. We love Canada. It's our hat. And Jason Inch is Canadian. Okay, so we really like Canada. I honestly don't know anything about Canada and Mexico because it's not my area. My area is here in Asia. But I suddenly had to start learning about NAFTA. Why? Why is NAFTA relevant? NAFTA actually, believe it or not, is very relevant to Europe. There's a lot of Europeans in this audience right now. European countries have factories in Mexico, and because of factories in Mexico, the goods are shipped into the United States as NAFTA products to get a tariff reduction. So this is why the president is saying we're going to pull out of NAFTA, or we're going to renegotiate NAFTA, or we're going to crack down on NAFTA. And what I want to say for China, why does this relate to China? I checked. China has investment in Mexico, but actually very few of these products that have any connection to China that are being shipped from Mexico. However, I would use NAFTA as an informal litmus test, okay? Think about this. The United States and Canada are very close, right? Probably one of our closest allies, other than Great Britain. Probably one of our closest allies, right? Speak the same language, we wear the same clothes. Every actor from Canada is on American TV, right? We have so much in common, and we taught them how to play hockey. So, in Mexico, while people have complained about illegal immigration, really, other than that, I don't think Americans have any issue with Mexico. I don't think people dislike Mexico. I think people like Mexico. And in fact, we wish, it used to be one of the big vacation destinations for Americans. Unfortunately, because of all the sort of drug violence You know, we sort of go, oh, I kind of wish I could go to Mexico, but we don't go as much as we used to. Anyway, the point of the story is, these are our two closest neighbors, our two closest allies. 38% of Americans speak Spanish. Greg speaks Spanish. I speak Spanish. 38% of Americans speak Spanish. 100% of us speak Canadian. and yet, Donald Trump is bringing out the war stick against Mexico and Canada. So, I can bet you money, if he raises a tariff against Mexico and Canada, if he does anything against Mexico and Canada, you would have to believe he's going to do that against China. So that's why I think keeping an eye on NAFTA is a good litmus test for what might happen in China. So Donald Trump is threatening to raise his 38% tax on American companies overseas. Like everything else that he says, it's poorly worded, we don't know what he means. He literally said American companies overseas. So Starbucks, selling coffee in China, are they going to pay a 38% tax? I mean, I would hope that's not what he meant. I don't think that's what he meant. I'm sure that he meant American companies that are manufacturing overseas and exporting back to the United States. So again, regardless of what happens, if there's a trade war, no trade war, 45%, no 45%, that 38% tariff is going to drive American companies out of China. It would probably drive them out of Vietnam and Myanmar as well. And they probably would come home. There's a lot of economists. There's a course that we have to take, a PhD level. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called Beautiful Mind. Okay, so if you notice, I tend to watch a lot of movies and TV shows because I do nothing else but research, and it's the only way I can relax because I don't drink alcohol. So this movie, A Beautiful Mind, and you see this guy is just crazy and he's just writing equations on glass. That's what all my classmates are like. All right, so these guys are all super geniuses in mathematics. And there are actually formulas that calculate at what point it becomes economically viable to have a fully automated factory with only robots, no human beings. Right now, for most industries, it's too expensive to do that. But if you raise a 35% tariff, you know, maybe putting in robots is 20% more expensive. Maybe it's 25% more expensive. Maybe it's 50% more expensive, but you know that there's another formula that tells you that technology decreases in price every year. So you might say, you know what? I'll take a 50% hit this year. I'll close my China factory because of this 35% tariff. I'll move it to Wisconsin. I'll have a robot factory. I'll take a 50% hit in production costs because I know that at the rate that technology becomes more affordable, by next year or next year or next year, I'll be making more money. Think about it. My first computer that I ever bought was $2,500 in 1982. $2,500 in 1982 was maybe 2 months' salary, almost about a month and a half salary for the average American at that time. Today, I bought a computer a couple weeks ago in Cambodia for $430. And because I bought it in Cambodia, I know all the software is real. I know the warranty works because I have the phone number of the person who sold it to me. But, so we know technology becomes cheaper. So, at some point it becomes cheaper to have a robot factory. So what may happen is these companies may move back to the United States, they may have robot factories. The German companies and foreign companies that are in Mexico may move to the United States and they may be automated. I don't know. But we can calculate it electronically. Either way, it probably won't bring back jobs. So in early 2017, Donald Trump a few weeks ago said he called the One China policy into question. A few weeks ago, he had a phone call with Xi Jinping. Very interesting about this phone call is the exact content of the phone call is being kept quiet on both sides. I'm reading the Chinese news, I'm reading the American news, and they keep saying it was very productive, it was very cordial, it was very nice. They didn't say what was said, but the one thing that have come out though is that Donald Trump reaffirmed to Xi Jinping that the U.S. will abide by the One China policy. It did a lot to sort of thaw out these issues for the time being. Immediately after the phone call, Rex Tillerson, who is another one of Donald Trump's right-hand man. He's U.S. Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. He does tend to be anti-China. However, he flew to China. He met with his counterpart in the Chinese government. Apparently, they had a very nice meeting. He asked China to cooperate with the United States on North Korea, which is a fairly neutral thing to do. He also said something about South China Sea. Okay. Shortly after this visit, China granted Donald Trump trademark protection of his name. Apparently, there's a Trump hotel in Beijing. I think there's more than one Trump hotel. They had nothing to do with Donald Trump. He's been in court forever. Chinese government is now awarding him the trademark, which on the one hand is nice, but now Donald Trump critics, believe it or not, there are people in the media who criticize Donald Trump. I don't know if you're aware of that. I don't know what there is to criticize. But then the critics said, "Oh, this is a payoff. You know, you gave China something, and now they're giving you something." Obviously, this lawsuit's been going on forever. I don't think there's any question that his name is Donald Trump, has been Donald Trump. He's been using it consistently. But all right, 2016 Federal Reserve. Okay, so this is not something Donald Trump did, but so Donald Trump gets elected. A lot of people in the government hate Donald Trump. Immediately when Donald Trump gets elected, Wall Street goes berserk. The S&P skyrockets, the US dollar skyrockets, all the indices skyrocket, and then the Fed decides to raise the interest rate, which generally cools off the economy. Some people believe the Fed did that because they hate Donald Trump and they want him to not be able to say, "Look what I did for the economy." I don't know if that's true. It may also have been they're anticipating the rate skyrocketing. Anyway, the dollar was already high. The dollar is now higher. When the Fed interest rate goes up, the US dollar goes up, the yuan goes down. This has a lot of impact on China. So initially what happens, the good thing for China is that it makes Chinese products much cheaper. The dollar is now worth more, the yuan is worth less. Chinese products are cheaper in the United States. We can buy more of them. That's good for China. There's some bad things though that will happen in China. Whenever there's any major upset in the Chinese economy, and at this point it's not just the Chinese economy, it's when there's an upset in the US economy as well. I published a paper, you can find it online. I directly correlated the rise and fall of housing prices in Cambodia. The rise and fall of housing prices in Cambodia is dependent on turmoil in Chinese economy. When Chinese economy goes down, housing prices in Cambodia goes up. I have a theory, which I haven't proven, that this is true of real estate prices in New York and in London. We're at a point that China and the US economy are so closely tied that any hiccup in the United States causes a hiccup here or causes a panic. So what happens is people start taking their money out. They see the yuan dropping, you don't want your money to drop, so they take it and they invest it in US dollars. Cambodia happens to be the closest place where you can buy US dollars, so it affects Cambodian real estate prices, but also US debt markets. Chinese investors start buying US debt, money starts leaving China. Chinese investment, the outbound foreign investment, all these big infrastructure programs, 5 minutes ago. So all these big programs we see all over the world, these begin to slow down when the interest rate goes up. It becomes harder for Chinese companies to borrow in dollars. Remember that all raw materials in the world are sold in dollars. So when the dollar goes up, it becomes more difficult for Chinese construction companies, in Uganda or wherever they are, to buy raw materials. So little things happen in the U.S. affect China, affect the world economy. As I said, U.S. leaving the TPP may create an opportunity for China. U.S. levying a 45% tariff against China could hurt both countries, could hurt the whole world because many countries are very dependent on Chinese investment. If Chinese GDP goes down, Chinese outbound investment goes down, this will affect Cambodia, and the house that I bought there will not appreciate in value. All right. Okay, here we go. All right, this is me. So this is the end of my talk. Listen, I'm always looking for opportunities to speak. If anybody's interested in having me speak at your place, please let me know. And also, I'm looking for a publisher for my book on the China economy. I publish, I got my contact details on the next page. I'm always looking for a publisher. I have a new book about China economy. I need a publisher for that. This is my LinkedIn. Every morning, Monday through Friday, I generally post the China economic report, so you can read it there. That's my WeChat if you'd like to add me. And Mr. Jason Inch, thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. Great presentation so far.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.